Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I hope that you will say hello in the comments. And first, let me know that you can hear me. And second, say hi and tell me what's up. My name is Ellen Frost. I am the owner of Local Color Flowers. We are a floral design studio located in Baltimore, Maryland, and we are unique in the flower world in that we source all of our flowers locally. So everything we use come from farms within 100 miles of our Baltimore studio. So today I'm here and I'm going to be answering questions. You can either put your questions in the comment section down at the bottom, or you can use that little icon that has a question mark next to it, and I will check those questions there. So let's get started. Right off the bat, does anybody have any questions for me? I am not a farmer, so I always like to say that in the beginning. I am a florist who sources locally, so I know lots about local flowers, but I do not grow flowers. I do a couple other things besides floristry. I write a weekly newsletter, free weekly newsletter called Flower Nerd, which you should definitely check out. You can find it, Flower Nerd, on my website, ellenfrost.com. So the website is ellenfrost.com. And you can find my link to my newsletter there. I also host an online community called Flowermore. And that is a community for flower farmers and gardeners and other folks that want to learn more about floral design. So people who grow their own flowers but are interested in learning more about design, this is a community for you. So if you're interested, you can send me a little DM. I'm on Instagram at Ellen Frost Flowers. And if you send me a message, I will give you a 30% off discount link for the community, which means it's $20 a month. So that's me. I also, one more thing, teach 2 classes through Lisa's platform, the Gardener's Workshop. One is called Growing Your Business with Local Flower Sourcing, which is for florists and floral designers who want to source more local flowers. And I also teach a class called Preparing to Sell to Florists, which is to help flower farmers who want to sell to florists. And now is a great time to check that class out. It's $50, but if you are going into the new year thinking that you want to try to sell to florists, this is a great first start. All right, I'm checking to see if we have any questions. Lots of people on. Let's just see if we have any questions yet. All right, if there's no questions, I will keep chit-chatting about what's going on with me. So in the winter, my flower shop we still source flowers locally in the winter. We still try to stay within our 100-mile radius. So we have growers who grow indoors in heated greenhouses. We have growers that do forced branches. We also have people that do flowers in unheated hoop houses still. People who are forcing bulbs. So we have lots of variety of people that grow flowers for us in the winter. It is obviously harder than sourcing in the summer or during the season. We are in zone 7A, 7B, so it does get below freezing. So most of our cut flowers are coming from inside heated greenhouses right now. And we still are able to do all of the things that florists do in the winter. We usually take less weddings, but otherwise we still do all the things that florists do in the winter. So we have our first question. What flowers do you recommend us to grow if we've never sold to florists before? This is a great question, and I have to even precede this question with just a note that all florists are different. So what flowers you should grow for a florist really depends on the type of florist that you are trying to sell to. because if you are selling to a retail florist, they are going to have different needs than a wedding or event florist. So a retail florist might love things like lilies or liatris or snapdragons or bells of Ireland. And then you'll have event florists that don't need any of those things or are not interested in any of those things and really want things that are, in wedding colors, more whimsical, more who you are selling to. Does that make sense? And if you're not sure how to figure out who to sell to, research. I always say you have to know as much about your potential customers as you can. So you can do Google searches, you can do Instagram searches, you can search around your community, you can check out floral blogs or floral magazines and see what kind of florists are doing things in your community. But it really depends. The first step is knowing who your florist that you want to sell to is and knowing the types of flowers that they want. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions? I see lots of people on. Any other questions? So I got started in floristry almost 20 years ago. I went through the Master Gardening course here in Maryland, and then I also worked on a farm for 3 years, and I decided that farming wasn't exactly the right fit for me, but I loved flowers and I loved the farming community, so I thought that floristry with local flowers would be a good option. And so that was when I started reaching out to farmers in my region to see if they would sell flowers to me so that I could start to do weddings just as a side gig on the side from my regular job. So I did that for a few years, and then I quit my day job and went into floristry full time. For many years, we only did weddings and events. About 10 years ago, we started doing some retail, some floral design classes. That's when I also started working with Lisa on the online courses. And it's just been about 2 years since we started our online community. And again, within the community, we are doing a lot of work around learning how to design with local flowers, but we also do a lot of business coaching, small group coaching around selling to florists. So we have an entire small group coaching program for people that want to sell to florists. All right, let's see. Looking at the questions. So somebody said that they planted tulips. Tulips are great. People do love tulips. Of course, you have to understand pricing for tulips. Florists can get international tulips for pretty cheap. So you have to figure out a way to compete with them that may not be on price, depending. So when to harvest, that really is a farmer question. I know that Lisa would be able to better answer that. I know that there's a small window of time where it's right to harvest tulips. I think the proper time is when the bud is colored up, but the flower hasn't yet opened. And you really don't want to sell flowers to florists that are harvested at an incorrect time, because that can impact the vase life. And especially for a retail florist who is looking for a long vase life for the flowers, you don't really want to be bringing them tulips that are blown open, because that will impact the vase life. All right, let's see. Some other questions. So tulips are, in the spring, we're going into winter, but in the spring, we're thinking about the first flowers that we start to buy from farmers. So daffodils, fancy daffodils, tulips, ranunculus, hyacinth, flowering branches. What else do we have in the spring? Lots of sticks like pussy willows, things like that. So all of those things are things that florists buy a lot of. Okay, so somebody asked, what are the top 6 flowers that you generally source locally? maybe because they don't ship well or because they are just better to source locally. So I source everything locally. So I am not like a regular florist. I source every single stem locally, but I would say that if you're thinking about stems that are harder for florists to get locally, things like fancy tulips, so like varieties that are more unique, doubles, parrots, things that you're not seeing in a wholesaler. Same with fancy peonies that, you may not be seeing at a wholesaler. For sure, poppies. Poppies are not easily shipped. A lot of the summer flowers like zinnias. I know zinnias are like a simple thing, but they do not ship well. And so if you're selling fancy zinnias, not just Banary Giants, I mean, those are great too. But for florist sales, you want to be looking at, some of the new Johnny's varieties like linen, any of the colored ballerina, any of the colors that are going to be more attractive to florists. And then certainly dahlias. Dahlias are a big one. And then I'd say heirloom mums as well. While people can get a lot of mums at the wholesaler, I think there are a lot of heirloom or heritage varieties that are more unique that florists are interested in, but they're not seeing at the market. And then any sort of specialty foliage or branches that might be of interest, like mock orange. Like we cannot get enough mock orange. It's one of those branches that only flowers for like a week or two during the season. And we always want more of it. You never really see it at the wholesaler. So that's another one. Anything that is unique or can set you apart. And I would say, again, this goes back to research, like researching what the florists that you're interested in selling to are already using. Like go into their shop, look at their website, look at their Instagram. What are they already using? And again, you could go in to a wholesaler and also look at what they have and just see like what is missing from the wholesaler's options. All right, let's see. Do we have some more questions? I can talk a lot, so it's better if you ask me some questions. Somebody said their florists love Banary Giants. I do too. They are, so big and beautiful. They fill in bouquets great. They come in a million different colors. And for a lot of florists, especially retail florists, they're terrific. For wedding florists, they work if the color works for that wedding. So you know what I mean? Like if it's the middle of the summer and you're doing an orange and pink wedding, which, is a common summer color palette, then those Banary Giants that are in that fuchsia and pink and orange are going to be awesome. But a lot of florists are not doing as many of those kind of colored weddings. And especially now this year, if you saw last week, the Pantone color of the year was a white. So even though white is a color that we see a lot in weddings, I think we're going to see it even more in the coming year. Okay. Other questions that you might have about selling to florists or about design or about our business model and the things that we are doing? Somebody said, any favorite blue flowers you like to work with? Well, blue flowers, if you can grow blue flowers, kudos to you, and florists love blue flowers. There are not a lot of blue flowers on the market locally. So if you can grow blue flowers well, you have an advantage. I would say for sure delphinium, and that's both the smaller varieties of delphinium and larger varieties. Forget-me-nots are a good one. Echinops, great. Any of the thistles that are in that more blue tone. Let's see what else. There is a summer flower that has escaped me, the name of it. If I remember, I will let you know. But any blues that you can grow, I think will be hot on the marketplace. Good question about blue. Other questions? All right, so let's see what else is happening in my world. So it's winter, so we are doing things that are wintry, like Tweedia. Good grief. Thank you, friend. See, I see you. Tweedia is great. And if you can grow Tweedia and have long stems, I know that out on the west coast of Canada, I have seen people growing, maybe you are, Fox Hollow, growing Tweedia that has really long stems. Ours are pretty short, honestly, the ones that we're getting locally. So if you can grow them long, amazing. Excellent. I'm trying to think if there's any other blue flowers. I mean, there's bachelor's buttons, which, serve a purpose. They are blue. They are the bluest blue. They are tricky to use for florists. I think if they're doing something like mixed bouquets or mixed centerpieces, or even like a wildflower wedding or event, they're great. They are a little bit difficult just because the stems are so skinny and you really need to mass them if you want to have big impact with that blue, but for sure. And then hydrangeas, I don't ever think about blue hydrangeas because we don't have a lot of growers that grow them as cuts, but that would be another flower that is in that blue category. All right, other questions that you might have for me about floristry, color palettes, how to work with florists. I have been working, like I said, in floristry and sourcing locally since 2008. That was when our business started. And we had been working with local farmers for a few years before that, basically getting ready to launch our business. And right now I work with about 40 different farmers, and that's in Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania. And I don't buy from all of them every week, but I do buy from most of them sometime throughout the year. We do have growers that specialize in certain things. So we have growers that just work in the winter, just work in the spring, just work in the fall, some that just do a single crop. So they're really, some are very specialized and some are very broad in what they offer. Okay, we have another question. What is the best way to approach a florist as I'm starting out as a small grower? So let me say first that in my short class, Preparing to Sell to Florists, we go through step by step exactly how to approach a florist. And the first thing I would say is, like I already said, is to do your research. Know as much as you can about that florist before you go in to meet with them. Because what you want to do is present yourself as somebody that can meet the florist's needs. And you want to know as much as you can about their needs before you meet with them. Of course, when you get there, you can ask them about their needs, but you want to have some level of knowledge about them before you get there. So once you have as much knowledge as you can, you determine that you think they're a good fit for you. And that means you can grow the kinds of flowers they like. You can work within their schedule. Like retail florists and event florists have greatly different schedules. So then I would say for me, I would say send an email with an introduction, explaining who you are, what you do, what you have to offer, and then asking if you can come in to meet with them and bring them a sample. So I would say try to do this as soon as you have a sample that looks good. You can certainly try to do this during the winter without a sample, and then come back in the spring with a sample. But it's always nice to show up with a sample. And when you bring that sample, you want to tell the florist that that's for them to use and experiment with. You don't want them to just use it and send it out with an order. You want them to use it and see how it works for them. And then when you get there, you're going to want to be prepared for all of the questions that that a florist is going to ask. They are going to ask you, when do you deliver? How much does it cost? What do you do about buckets? How do I pay you? All of those things. So you have to be really prepared to have answers to all of those things before you get there. All right, let's see. Other questions? Oh, thank you. Somebody is, thanks friend, recommending my large course. That is the Growing Your Business with Local Flower Sourcing course. It is, I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I love that course because it really is all of my lessons over almost 20 years about being a florist and building community. So I appreciate that shout out. Okay, other questions. I see Dave Dowling is here. Hi. Let's see, other questions? All right, until we get a couple more questions. So I'll just go back that we do work with about 40 different farmers. Oh, somebody asked, where do you find the course info? Great question. You can go to the Gardener's Workshop website, and under their class section, if you look for my name, Ellen Frost, you'll find both of my courses on there, the Growing Your Business with Local Flower Sourcing, and also the small course, which is Preparing to Sell to Florists. And like I mentioned, we do discuss all of these topics in a lot of detail inside my online community. So if you're interested in that, you can just reach out. All of Lisa's people get a 30% discount, so I'm happy to send you the discount link. So do check it out on Lisa's website at Gardener's Workshop. So the local flower industry has changed a lot since I began. In our region, we used to, when I started, there were only 3 growers that we bought from, and expanded a little bit into 5 growers after a year or two. But there were growers out there, I just didn't know them. I had to meet them and build relationships with them. And so much about our work is building relationships. I see a comment here that somebody mentioned that florists are loving pro-cut sunflowers. I agree. Sunflowers, pro-cuts, and any other fancy ones that have good, strong stems, any that are facing upwards, they don't really love branchy sunflowers, so we really are looking for single stems that they can easily use in like a bouquet or a centerpiece. Again, it's good to check out florists' Instagram pages because florists are very visual. They are going to share photos of their work. They also buy in a very visual way. So when you're selling to a florist, you want to make sure that you're visually sharing images that are good quality images so that they understand what the product that is available is available. So be sure that you are building a sort of a library of photos that you can share with your potential florists. I'm a perfect example. If I get a list that is just words like snapdragons, $2, peonies, $4, like that doesn't mean anything to me, but when I see the picture, if that is a really beautiful, enticing picture, I'm probably going to buy it, even if I'm over budget or I don't really need it, because I am a sucker for beautiful photos. All right, let's see. Do we have another question? What varieties of eucalyptus do you prefer as a florist? Okay, florists love eucalyptus. I am in the minority of people that do not love eucalyptus, but I use a ton of it. We use so much of it. So we use the silver dollar. We use the baby blue. I think that's the really sticky one. Polyanthemos, that's the one with the flat leaves, the round flat leaves. We also use the boxwood eucalyptus. There's so many now. I would say florists love foliage. They always are looking for foliage. So if you can grow, several varieties of eucalyptus and have that available, florists are going to love that. And really, how they're really going to love it is if you have it in a tunnel or in a greenhouse and you can hang on to it until Valentine's Day or January, February, when there's not a lot available and florists don't really want to be using evergreens anymore. If you can provide them with eucalyptus then, that is like a key time. Anytime that you can provide something sort of on the shoulders of the season or in the winter, that will set you apart too. You're always looking for ways to set yourself apart in the marketplace, whether you're selling retail or to a florist, to anybody. You really want to try to set yourself apart. Any other questions? And of course, there's lots of ways to set yourself apart. Telling your story. Everybody has a unique, interesting story. All of your farms, all of your businesses have unique stories. Sharing that story is really critical, and I think is one way to build relationships with florists, but also giving your florist something to share with their customers. So as a florist, if I can say, oh, I sourced these beautiful evergreens from Bob Woolham. This is a special evergreen that nobody has. Here's how he harvests it in a big crane. All of the things that I can share with my customers means that I can sell more product. And if I sell more product, that means I can buy more product from the farmer. So definitely be sharing your story, sharing what's unique about your business. I think that's a great move. Thank you for checking out the workshops. Under Gardener's Workshop, like I said, I've got 2 courses there. You can check those out. Also sign up for my free weekly newsletter. You can find it at my website, ellenfrost.com. And if you're interested in joining our flower community, you can reach out and I will send you a discount. Favorite woody perennials. Let's see. Starting in the spring, we start to get quince. I like quince, but I prefer it to be thornless. I love all of the pussy willows. Any pussy willow that you can get that's more unique, like the pink Mount Asama or the black one, anything that's unique. I love all of the flowering branches like cherry and peach, and then we get into like a little bit later, mock orange, abelia. Abelia is one of my number one fragrant abelia. Amazing. Bob Woolham grows it. If you need more information about it, send me a message because I don't remember the variety of it off the top of my head, but highly recommend it. Then what other woodies? I'm just trying to go through the season. Into summer, we start getting into like foliages like ninebark, smoke bush, Dyervilla, and then, into evergreens. So those are some. There's tons of woodies that we use. I love them. I love them all. I don't use a ton of hydrangea and I don't use a ton of viburnum. I know that there are people that love both of those flowers as woodies. Florists do use them a lot. I personally don't, but I know people do love them. All right, we just have 3 more minutes, so I want to see if there's any last questions. I don't want to miss anybody. I hope you found this talk interesting. Like I said, you can find me. My website is ellenfrost.com. You can find me on Instagram at ellenfrostflowers. I hope that you will send me a message. I love chit-chatting with flower friends. I love hearing about flower farms. I love connecting and building community with flower farmers. So I hope that you will search me out. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Have a great holiday. Have a great December. And I look forward to being on Ask Me Anything again. See you soon.